found the name that I read, think we own it or something, so it's surprising.
Yeah, I know, we really would.
How you doing?
That there's a move out there to go in there.
Yes. Now I see what he's doing. You know what I'm thinking? Did you? I just, did you say hi? Signing the clock bill. What? Signing the clock bill. No, Steve.
On the Third Avenue.
But I got, so I got, this is signature, this is,
It looks like one of the road
2-year contract.
with the sewer line is going, I'm not sure if it's sewer or some kind of line, it's getting an indentation. Yeah,
Because, you know, right now, you could get a lot of force there.
no, well, it looks like because of the
Okay.
traffic, it's.
So I think on page.
No, it's Third Avenue. We see it with the,
Oh, that spot again?
no, it's.
Third's got that,
So essentially,
That's in the middle, yeah, where
it used to be,
it looks like it's
Marshall,
walkable.
you know, pay for it. But if you want the left-hand week of the workshop, then
Between Cedar and the fence.
because
Look
those
at
are all
like that.
No, it's not different. I usually, I sometimes watch it.
And we should.
Luke, can you pass me that paper? This is like the original.
Call them up.
It's
still got
78.
Yeah.
So my thought was, if the county reimburses in February, then in March, that contract will be lesser value.
No, that's fine.
Now, we would still have to pay this through the contract. And then just get
He can?
And well, should we do this part? Maybe I was mistaken in telling them that, but whatever, maybe you should wait until you hear the
Fourth Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, Meg's, I don't know.
Of February.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is for, it says,
Because it was just
what it's called,
nothing.
TV services.
No, we don't have, we only have one meeting. Well, January, we had a second meeting, it was canceled because of the snow. Yeah. Yeah, we had something on,
If
it
we
was canceled because of the snow.
Hello, John, how are you?
I didn't tell the board.
The third is fourth.
When I said the meeting, I said.
Yeah, but some meetings sometimes there's two meetings.
Particularly, okay.
Instead,
But
Get home for these
county
Maybe
said,
March.
Yes, honestly,
So, like I said, you have a page you want them to be on?
So we'll make sure we
so I
get
said
it over,
at
right?
that meeting,
Watch
how
it.
they
That's
Starts at 9.
I would love to be president. No other.
just hot in my butt.
They used to say-
No, I just don't, you know, she signed it early.
And I would love to go.
Typically they do.
Say, I'm tired of this, here's my
They can
letter.
vote on it after.
Have the
I
question.
think it's.
Well, I'm tired of
I
it.
think,
Response from either party, doesn't
last
matter.
couple of meetings, the planning board.
Yeah. We technically don't have a
I watched it, yeah.
but I don't think it was. Last year they don't want to.
The rest of it is 75, the rest of it is
Just out of courtesy. Yeah. Things to talk about it, so I didn't know. So it was kind of big. I just feel better.
all the old shows, like the old wrestling, all the new stuff. Everything in the sewer. So. Basically, we have. She's got class. You got me now, at least 3 through May.
So they did, they got full buffer up, and they said,
Yeah, she went back to school this fall, her second master's degree. Spring semester, Tuesday night. Oh, well, I kind of inherited.
Yeah, I don't know what it's about. I'm not gonna get it tonight, or check to see.
So there I was, so many more deals. At least I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I got one of
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the Westfield Leader, advertised on January 9, 2014. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger and permanently posted on the Municipal Public Bulletin Board and filed in the office of the municipal clerk, informing the public of the time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is our workshop meeting. And I'm surprised this many people came out in the cold tonight, but I guess we're all kind of getting a little wheelie from staying in. And we're just going to move into our regular order of business. First up is Mr. Borriello, Borough Engineer.
I have no report, Mayor.
No report? Does anybody have anything for Mr. Borriello?
Quick question. Don, what month will we discuss the next round of road projects? Just to put it on our radar.
I think those projects usually go in August, Tina, is that stuff right?
I think we submit the grant in September, so we start talking about like.
Yeah, but, you know, June,
June,
July.
June, July, okay. All right, thanks.
Anybody else have anything for Mr. Borriello? Okay, there's, seeing no questions from the dais, I understand you have to,
I have another meeting to go to if I be excused.
yeah.
I appreciate it.
Don't want to get a report?
What? What was that? Oh.
Actually,
Yes.
I was gonna bring something up when it was comments for
Okay.
council, but being that you have to leave, I'd rather bring it up
Yeah.
now. About the athletic field project, I was thinking about the project, and every month that we sit here and we talk about how delayed the project is, and as it stands now with the schedule that we had, if by some chance they were actually able to stick to that schedule, the project's gonna be a year behind. We've mentioned a few times in prior meetings about that maybe this council, when they had first discussed the project, should have hired a project manager, and we didn't do that at that time, or that council didn't do it at that time. A project manager would oversee the day in and day out operations of the project. They would work closely with the architect and the contractor. Project manager would oversee all change orders. Someone at some meeting, it could have possibly have been me, had asked who exactly was in charge, and at that time we were told it was yourself, Don. I know Tina attends those meetings and has a lot of involvement, as well as Lou and Mr. Renan. I think there's a lot of people involved in this project, and there's not one main person. The project manager would be a single point of contact between the contractor and the borough. They would be in constant communication and report to mayor and council at council meetings. And I think that it's time that we consider, that this council considers maybe looking into hiring a project manager for the duration of the project, seeing what the cost is and what's involved. It may be, may cost us a little bit of money to do that, but it might cost us a little money in order to save a lot of money down the road. So I just wanted to get everyone's opinion on that. Don, I wanted to bring it up before you left.
Well, first of all, Don, do you have any opinion on that?
Well, I think right now it's kind of like closing the barn door if the horse cut out. I mean, the project is probably through all the bumps at this point. Everything seems to be moving along, other than the fact that we're restricted by weather. And I really don't see what you would gain out of spending that kind of money at this point in time. We're not gonna shorten the job. I mean, the job is completion is opening in June. We're not gonna shorten that by a month, one way or the other, I don't think. I mean, my own feeling is that really there's not much sense doing it at this point in time.
So does that mean you project, given the winter we've had, and we did realize that in that schedule that was given to us, a revised schedule, winter was not accounted for, and maybe that's typical practice, I'm not sure, but with that being said, do you think, considering the weather we've been having, you're thinking June
Well,
at this
the
time?
building is moving along with really no effect of the weather. They probably will have the building closed up in 2 weeks, I would think, if they get the top pieces, the roof pieces. So, I mean, they'll continue to work on the building. If you think about what's left on the site, other than placing the field, it's really only the landscaping and finishing the baseball field. Most everything else on the site work is done. Again, also excluding the fence. So, I mean, and those things, there's nothing that should stand in the way of the progress of the project at this point that I can see. Even the building, I think, should move along at this point, as long as the materials keep coming in. Like I said, the walls are pretty much up now. Get the roof on the building, they'll work through the winter.
What was the delay on the building?
Well, I don't know why the building wasn't started sooner. The delay of the project, of course, was really the soil. I think was a good part of that, but.
Initially, yes, but the soil's been removed.
Yeah, I know. I say there really was no reason why the building wasn't started sooner. Yeah.
And if I may, I know we discussed manpower of the job, and also I spoke about, I discussed actually this project briefly. I gave basically a general overview to somebody at this league training we went to on Saturday, who actually spoke to us about procurement, sorry. And basically, I know I've seen him speak every year, and he really hasn't touched too much on really large projects, but I spoke with him before the meeting started about our situation and things like that. And I know he gave me a couple questions, so to speak, to think about. But I would also like to ask you, basically, I understand that you're at the site a lot, and I'm just wondering exactly how much. Are you there almost every day?
Yeah, I usually go, when things are busy, I go every day. Basically, this time of year, I go every other day.
Okay. And then, being that you go so frequently, could you speak to manpower at the site?
Pretty much for the duration, or since the project began, there's probably been 6 or 7 people working on a regular basis. A foreman and 5 or 6 laborers, carpenters at this point. Yeah, there's usually about 6 people on the job.
So you feel they have, at this time at least, especially with constructing the building, do you feel they have the proper manpower to see this through over the next couple of weeks? Should we expect to see the building done by, say, March 1st?
I don't think you'll see the building done by March 1st, no, that's really a month away.
Okay.
But I think you'll see the building done by June 1st. Without question.
Well, I'm sorry, but I thought you said a few weeks before, so maybe I just misunderstood.
I think the project and the building will go hand in hand.
Simultaneously?
Yeah.
June 1st, the current schedule that we have says completion for April.
Right.
I think with the winter we've had, they've done absolutely no site work in the last, I would say 30 to 45 days. of any account. They put up the fence, that's about what we've done for the last 45 days. April 1st, I think it's a little unrealistic, that's, again, only 60 days, but I think they could be done by that time if things continue to go along here. But I think I don't think you're looking at a dedication on April 1st. I personally don't think you are. It'd be great if we do.
I just wanted to comment on Ann's proposal. I think it's great. I think it's a great idea. And I would support definitely looking into it and try to see how much we're gonna, how much it would be. And it's a matter of accountability. I actually know a little bit about this. I took a construction management class and I was in real estate development for a while. There's 1,001 details to every little piece of it. And then there are punch lists afterwards that you go ahead and get this done, and this light socket was put in improperly, that wallpaper's supposed to be over there, that clock's not supposed to be, it drives you nuts. And to have somebody like that, and I know that there have been, and again, I'm just jumping ahead a little bit, but there have been compensation structures for CMs that pay them a fee plus a percentage of money they save to incentivize them. Now, bringing them in this late, CMs tend to be pretty unpopular people to begin with, but there may be a little bit of a problem, but I think you're onto the right. I think what you're trying to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to have this funnel up to some accountability, and someone at least to give us information and be accountable, but ultimately we're accountable. And I agree with you, I think that that's a great idea. So I would support looking into that, absolutely.
I would say too, I appreciate Don, I think you've given us a lot of insight with what you've recently stated. Also, I think that it's definitely worth looking into, and I think that it allows us to take a more proactive approach to something of this magnitude, and at least put the request for proposals out there, see what the price is about, interview them, see what they're about. Personally, I would think if we were going to bring in somebody, my first question would be, how many projects have you come in halfway through, and how did you see it through? Because I wouldn't want someone who just experiences everything when it's perfect. I think you need somebody that has been in the situation before and has seen it through properly. So I'd be supportive of taking it to that step at least. I don't see where a request for proposals could really hurt us. We don't have to hire the person, right? It just gives us that next step.
My question would be, who actually could write this proposal? That's right, okay. That's this construction manager. Who is it? Tina, is that something that you would write?
Well, it'll take me a little while, I've never written one like that, but I'm sure I could pull it off. Bob would help me if I need help.
I actually had Lou's question.
Yeah, so that's what I was too, that's exactly right.
I can do it, I need a little time, and I can do it. I'll find somebody else's snatch it from me.
Right, but you just go to another municipality that's
I'll
written
find
one and
somebody
just
who's
copy
take
theirs,
it,
okay,
I'll find it.
okay.
Internet's a great tool.
I would support the concept too, but I don't want to have Tina run around and do all this work, and then, we have people come in and interview or whatever, because like you said, you gotta try out an RFP, and that's not a professional service, right? Don, Bob?
Well,
It is, isn't it?
it's probably, I don't know whether it would be a professional service or an EUS, or whether you'd have to, I'd have to think about that, but regardless, I mean, you'd have to put a proposal together, some kind of request for proposal, whether it's a professional service or whether it's a bid. I mean, somebody is gonna have to put together what it is that you expect the person to do. Then you're either gonna have to tell them how much you're gonna pay them, which I wouldn't have any idea, or they're gonna tell you how much they're gonna charge. But you wanna obviously wanna compare apples to apples, so the spec's gotta be written so that you put down, you don't put out an RFQ and say, tell us what you're gonna do and what you're gonna charge us, because then what you're gonna get is a variety of, presumably, of proposals of all different services for different amounts.
Well, my whole thing is this, sorry, Bill, is, okay, so how long does this actually take to get done? And then we hire somebody in March or maybe April, and the person's here for a month and a half?
May I interject something that I need to, Bob, if I was directed to do this, doesn't funding have to be in place for me to do it first? Because the bond doesn't have a window for this dollar-wise, so would I have to have an appropriation in place first before I can act?
Well, I mean, you haven't adopted a budget yet. You'd have to have some money to hire. Before you could hire somebody, you'd certainly have to have
Right, I know before you
money.
award, you definitely have to, but isn't it before I seek, the proposal, I have to have?
Well, there's no
appropriation?
law that says that, at least as far as I can think of, that says that you can't put out an RFQ before you've appropriated the money to pay the person to do the work. But you certainly would have to do it before you hired anybody.
Could you use money within the bond for the project?
I don't
Sure.
have, I don't have enough money.
If you had money,
I
yeah,
don't
if you
have-
had money.
I don't have
Don't we
enough.
have
Contingency money?
Contingency?
Yeah, there's $100,000, but that's going.
That's not in the contract.
That's to the contractor, that's to the contract. It's, you know,
This is
it's
It's in the
earmarked. for-
contract that's awarded.
Yeah, it's in earmarked for that. You can't earmark it for something else and hoping that you don't spend it. You know what I mean?
Okay, understood.
I guess you could put it in the budget. If you knew you were gonna do it, you could put it in the budget when you're doing the budget.
Well, we could too, you know, in considering Councilman Pedroselli's point, if we are even considering this, we really should do it now so that we at least put ourselves in a position to make a decision. If we end up getting proposals back, we know about how much it might cost, we start interviewing, and it's March or it's April 1st, and the project's almost done, well, I guess we didn't need to take that step, but at least we put ourselves in that position. If we say, oh, well, things will be perfect in April or in March, it'll be too late to start this then. So I think this is why it is important to discuss this now. At least that's how I see it.
Again, I think it's a great idea. The thing I would hate to see, Andrew, is that, not that I would love to see it be that it's June and the RFQs are coming back and the thing's done, and we don't have to do this unnecessary
Absolutely.
exercise.
I would
What I
love
would
to
hate
not
to
need
see is it's next June, and we go and say, why didn't we dictate to this beforehand?
Right.
Because, I mean, you've already seen,
We've had two delays already.
2 months slips. And listen, the bottom line is, and again, probably a little cynicism too, but I used to deal with things like this all the time in the private sector. A municipal project, it's gonna get done when it gets done. And you really, if you wanna go ahead and speed that up, you need somebody to take control of it. Otherwise, this thing's gonna go on and on and on. And I agree with you. I'd rather do this late rather than do it now.
Agreed. And we have no faith right now in that April date, and we don't have a new schedule, from what I understand, we don't have a new schedule yet. And we don't know what that new schedule could be. Could be September, December, we don't know what it's gonna say.
It also seems to me that the cost to put out a RFP, RFQ would be minimal, just to give us a baseline, and then we can make decisions from there. You know, it's not like it costs an exorbitant amount of money to put out a request, it's just a request, we can see what it comes in at, but, I mean, you have my full support, for that, so.
If I could just ask, I mean, I have to tell you, I don't think I'm not, if you had asked me the question you asked Don, I think you, as he says, closing the barn door after the horse is out. I don't know that a construction manager is gonna do anything constructive for you at this time. How would you pay for it? I mean, it's not gonna be $2,000, it's not gonna be $5,000, it's not gonna be $10,000. No competent construction manager is gonna come in here and take over a project that you're telling them has problems for next to nothing. So where are you gonna get the money from? You're gonna appropriate this in the budget? Are you gonna you're gonna amend the bond ordinance? If you're gonna amend the bond ordinance, it's gonna take you 2 months to do that, maybe more.
More. That 20-day stop on.
Right, more.
It's good, two
So
months.
I mean, it's just not, honestly, it's not feasible. You know, if you think it was, you know, maybe it would have been a good idea a year ago or 2 years ago. you know, you're liable to wind up delaying the project. You'd have to get somebody on board, and have to familiarize himself with everything that's gone on over the last year.
You're gonna pay for that.
And you're gonna pay for that. They're gonna start, they're not gonna charge you any less money to pick it up now than they would have in the beginning, because they gotta review everything they would have to do to begin with. How would you pay for it?
If I may, do we delay the project by getting the proposals in?
No, I suppose not. I don't know that it would delay the project by getting proposals. I can't tell you that.
If I were the contractor on the project, it would speed me up.
That's what I would think.
That's what I think too.
You know,
If I
that's what I
saw
would
one,
think. I'd have
I think this project, I think if the contractor saw a project manager coming in, it would change the game.
And I just want to say, I mean, I appreciate our professionals' advice, and I know that you've given us exactly what you feel, but we're accountable. We're the ones who are accountable.
You know, the contractor doesn't make any money by delaying the game. He's getting paid X amount of dollars to do the project, whether he does it in 1 year or 5 years. So it's not to his benefit to slow the project down, it's to his benefit to get the job done as quickly as possible, so he can move on to another job. He's locked into it, given some of the money, plus some change orders. The change orders have to be legitimate, so there's no benefit for him to delay the project, none.
And that's why actually it's surprising to me that
He's-
we're
He's
even
got
in
a
this
bond,
boat, to be
well,
honest.
contractors don't have bonding capabilities. His bond is tied, he's got $3 million, we'll say, tied up in his bonds right now. That's $3 million worth of projects he can't go out and bid. So there's really, I mean, I don't think we should get the feeling that he's delaying the project because he's gonna get something golden as is.
I'm sure Don can, if you want 5 items that delayed the project, I can give them to you, or Don can give them to you, and none of them are the fault of the contractor.
That's not what the townspeople, that's not what the people are getting mad.
Well,
Things late.
they may be, but it's
But we
not.
represent, but Bob, we represent them.
I
You
understand that,
what
but
I'm saying?
doing something that doesn't address what the problem was doesn't help you to represent the people. I understand that you'd like to do something, but all the things that had to be done, I understand exactly how everybody feels about it. You know, you're frustrated that the job didn't get done when you said it would be done, and it's not done. But the reasons why it's not done are reasons that for the most part don't have to do with the contractor.
If I could ask Mayor, what do you think about Ann's proposal, where you come out on hiring a CM or not?
I have to listen to our professionals who we already have on board, being familiar with engineering, and I was married to a project engineer for quite a number of years and placed engineers. I do want to point out that when the project got started, we had a construction official as a council person who was also overseeing things, and Councilman Petrozelli is at every single meeting. He is now Buildings and Grounds Chair. There were many situations that came up that we have no control over. What are we going to do? Project manage Mother Nature? That's not something that that's feasible. Looking at the calendar, it seems to me that if you were going to move forward, you have no idea where you would get the monies from. And you would have to have your proposals and be all set to go within 2 weeks, by February 11th, to have any kind of, even the slightest comfort zone. So I don't think there would be a real benefit. Could we possibly get somebody? I have some thoughts about it. We did have some individuals who were engineers who helped us get the original package together to go out for bids. Maybe they would consent to going over and taking a look periodically on a more regular basis. I know Mr. Guariello's over there.
Well, I limit my time there because I don't want to gouge the barrel with a lot of money for nothing.
Exactly. No, I understand that, yeah.
So, but I'm also not looking to be a construction manager.
No, I understand that as well.
Mayor, if I can touch upon what Don just said, because that's where I'm headed, Don. Say we didn't hire someone, who's gonna do that punch list at the end? Who's gonna do that job, that the construction manager we don't have?
Well, you have two architects that should do the punch list.
Yeah.
You're doing for the site work too?
Well, one's the site work, the landscape architect, and the other one's the building. I mean, everything is covered by, and that was, I think, the borough's feeling in the beginning is, they didn't want 6 different people managing the project, so they put the thing out as a lump sum bid. They have 2 people that are responsible for the job, you have 2 architects. And they're supposed to be guiding the project. Not as construction managers, but they're supposed to be overseeing the project.
And they do.
I do.
And in the end, I mean, it's not like, they're building a house, for an individual. But in the end there, that, if you wanna go in there, or Don wants to go with you, and, you're not happy with something, I mean, that's something for you to say, oh, how come this didn't come out, this way? I think that, the borough being the end user of it, I mean, you have a right, to make your own punch list, so to speak. But I think that's what the architects and the other professionals are there for, to make sure that those things, get done properly.
The meetings that I've attended, I just want to point out, I feel that the architect and the site, all the fellows who come together pretty well do go after the contractor to keep him on, on task. I mean,
The unfortunate thing right now is when we have the soil sitting there for months, we had perfect weather, we had a drought. And now that the soil's gone, we're moving into winter and we're having a bad winter, and that's what's, for the site work, that's something that was really holding it up now, is the weather. He was originally gonna get a crane there, but he didn't wanna put the crane in place because the ground is too soft. So he's using a lull in order, to raise the SIP panels. So, there's things that he's doing to keep it going that, that can, benefit us, to try to speed up the process. It's just, you're dealing, with Mother Nature, and I just think that when we had the good weather, we had a very large pile of soil sitting there that became an issue. And I don't think that a construction manager would have had any magic wand to make that pile go away.
Just something that came up here, and maybe along the lines of what Ann is talking about, maybe a middle ground. Should we have the architects come in and talk to the council, give us a presentation, tell us where things are?
Won't cost you any money.
Huh?
It won't cost you any money.
They won't cost
Yeah,
money. They won't cost money. Hold on. They will not. Will not.
I'm sorry, what?
No, I said they will not cost money.
That's what I'm saying, it doesn't cost you any money.
and I think they would be amiable. They've been very supportive.
Yeah.
And I would just ask, if they come here, can they tell us more than what Don can tell us? I don't wanna, if we do plan on putting the proposal out there, I don't want to delay it. I would rather direct Tina to act sooner than later, but if they could bring, if you feel they could bring something to the table that,
Well, one of the issues we have had through the length of the project is, what I would say is disagreement between the architect and the builder as to what they have and what they haven't had. In other words, the contractor says, well, you never approved the windows. The contractor says, sure I did. Look at the note on such and such a day. And there's been a lot of bickering like that going back and forth. And I pushed both, particularly our architect, to make sure that he's got everything he needs, that he's signed off on all, whatever the materials are that are being used. Because that seems to be where the contractor throws in a little jab every once in a while and says, well, you didn't approve that project, you didn't approve the color yet, or you didn't approve, am I right? Look, so, this would be a good chance for you to put the architect on the line and find out, is everything in line to build this building without another delay?
I have to interject, I emailed them that question all the time.
More than once.
I get a little tired of their acting like
Kids.
5th grade girls half the time, because they're always, you didn't do it, you didn't do it. Now, I send them some pretty strong worded emails on that subject, and I can't tell you I get the response I would like to have, but I definitely don't leave it without comment. When I see them bickering about who did what, I tell them, you're being ridiculous, just give the guy what he needs and stop it, to the best of my ability, but they do bicker a bit.
The contractor and the architect?
Yeah.
The architects,
Yeah.
all of them.
It's kind of natural, Greg, I mean, don't they, I think they kind of always bicker.
They're
But I just wanted to say,
always
just,
Well, yeah, I just want you to
Yeah.
realize that has been, they use that as delaying tactic, or as the reason why the project is being delayed.
But isn't this what a project manager would handle?
absolutely.
Yes, he would, but as Bob said, we're sitting here on February the 1st, probably the soonest you could get somebody, you could do your RFQs, get them out and get a bond issue ordinance passed and get it in, is March the 15th. And it sounded to me like when we came in here this evening, that their schedule is to be finished by April the 1st. Well,
And do we believe
what's
that?
gonna happen in 15 days? What's the guy gonna do in 15 days is my point.
You're assuming they're gonna be finished in April.
Well, I said June 1st, so I mean, I see the building every day, and it just seems to me that they've got a couple of months worth of work to do there.
And I have,
And the finishing work always takes a lot of time, so. But whether it's March the 1st, April the 1st, or May the 1st, or June the 1st, you're not gonna have enough time to give a construction manager, who's gonna wanna buy that responsibility to only do the last 10% of the project? He's gonna be responsible for the whole project now. You're gonna ask somebody to come in here, and he's gonna have to go over the whole project, he's gonna charge you for it, so that he can tell you where you are on the whole project, when 90% of it's gonna be done by the time he gets there.
which is actually, I think, would be an awesome situation to be in, quite honestly, if
But
if
I
we
think
get
you're
to
looking,
that
I
point
think you're
before
looking
we
at 6
hire.
figures, Sarah.
Well, I'm saying not
So-
hiring him, I'm saying if you are ready to hire or are preparing to, and you realize that it's 90% done and you don't need to hire anybody, that's a beautiful situation to be in. I fear it, the clock keeps going, it turns April 1st, all of a sudden we say, boy, we expected 90% to be done now, we expected 80% to be done now, and it's not. Then what? Now we're talking about, again, a couple months to put the proposals out there, hear back. That's why I feel there's no harm in acting now. Right, getting the ball moving, we don't have to hire anybody, we don't have to pay anything. This is really just to educate ourselves as to what options are out there.
No, I
It's better to be
agree with
prepared and
that.
not needed.
I would rather take the risk on doing something side than inaction side, rather than kick ourselves later on. And then just, I totally agree with Councilman Tedisco. And to clarify what I said before, having the architects in here doesn't necessarily have to be an either or proposition. We can have the architects in here and put us.
I agree with
Yeah, I
that.
think, so I mean, I'm full, I mean, with all due respect to everyone else's opinion to the contrary, put me down as in favor of at least going out and paying first.
Let's come to some kind of a conclusion here as to what we should do. Would everybody like us to bring in the architects for the next meeting? That would be
Yes.
February 11th?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe, would you like to have Ms. Ariama pull together, start working on pulling together some kind of a request for proposals or whatever immediately? Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
I would be in favor of that.
I would be in favor of that.
Okay, that doesn't mean we have to follow through. Perhaps you'll get the answers that you, when is the next construction meeting?
February 5th.
That's before the next council meeting.
Mayor, I'm not really in support of that measure, but I'm not gonna, disagree.
What part of it don't you?
I think it's a waste of Tretina's time, I think it's a waste of everybody's time, but
Well,
it's
I
a great
agree
idea.
with you. I'm just asking
It's-
for what the
it's-
council
yeah,
would like.
Yeah, it's a great idea, and we should have done it, the original council should have done it, we should have done it.
Agreed.
Now, I think it's a waste of everyone's time, and I don't think it's gonna make the contract move any faster or do anything. We're gonna be sitting here in March, hire somebody in April, probably be done in May. I'm not gonna vote against it, but
Yeah, the contractor, in my opinion, is gonna wanna move along. He's got a couple of big projects on the drawing board right now that are huge.
That's the case.
I just recorded the three of you, and his, can you just give me yours?
I'm okay with moving forward with the request for proposal for a construction manager,
So
just
you're in
out of
support?
curiosity.
There was support, Lou? Is that support?
Okay,
Thank you.
let's move it along and let's have,
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Musio. I don't expect work, but we can't do any work on the field till the snow is gone anyway, so.
Mr. Bell will come, not Mr. Reed.
No, I know.
I mean, Mr. Brown.
Right.
We don't deal with him. He's out.
Yeah, no.
all right, I'm lost. So we're saying Mr. Musial will be here?
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Reed will come, and Mr. Bell is the other guy.
Right. Okay. And, we like the contractor.
So, I just wanna recap one thing real quick. So you are directing me to prepare a
Give
proposal?
us start proposal.
Okay, I will have, prepare a quick resolution on rate that authorizes me to do so, okay?
All right,
Fair enough.
okay. All right. Anything else for Mr. Guariello before he leaves? I know he has to go. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, always on.
All right. Matthias, we're good. All right, moving along, Mr. Renan.
Thank you, Mayor. Two ordinances on tonight. We actually discussed them all at the last meeting, both of them. One of them is the changes in the parking in the area of, where are we? I don't even remember where we are. Beach East and Locust. And the other one is the one that has to do with the fences. It actually, the ordinance has to do with zoning restrictions in side yards on corner lots. And then the specific change that we made from, you may remember, we were going to introduce, or maybe we did introduce an ordinance in November or December, and then we decided to change the fence requirements, so I amended the ordinance, or I shouldn't say amended the ordinance, I rewrote the ordinance to make the fence requirements the way that you wanted them, which was open fences not higher than 4 feet.
Does anybody have anything for Mr. Renan? Any other questions on those ordinances? We'd like to have everything all tied up. So we,
New questions on the ordinance you
well,
want now?
whatever, anything for Mr. Renan at all that you need to.
Okay, I read that ordinance 14-03, and I remember the discussion we had on it last year, and I understand it went back to planning board and now it's before us again. I would just like to double check that, make sure I'm reading it properly, that essentially it allows for the 4 foot high fence, but there's, it continues to keep the regulation on how many feet in that fence could be, and it stands at 5 foot, is that correct?
No.
Or a certain percentage, I'm sorry, a certain percentage of the property?
No, I don't think so. No.
The fence can go wherever they want it.
Right, if
The
it's not
building
more
has
than
to
4,
restrict
if it's not more than 4 feet and it's open, they can put it wherever they want as long as it's on the property.
Okay, well, thank you for the clarification, 'cause I know that was one thing I
If
was a
it's-
little concerned about last year.
If it's over 4 feet, or if it's closed, then it has to be no closer to the sideline than the building, or if it were a vacant lot, no closer than the building envelope.
Okay, thank you.
And since we're asking questions, the other ordinance, I remember last time I didn't understand it all, and it got explained to me at the last second. How is it that restricting parking on the streets closest to the Y is going to prevent people from parking there? I'm sorry, going to prevent people from parking across the street?
Okay, you're actually asking the wrong person, I'm the mechanic here, but my understanding from what I recall of the discussion at the last meeting was that there is no parking permitted and there in the area, and so there is now going to be some parking permitted.
15 now.
And it's thought that that will, that people will park in the area where we're now permitting parking, as opposed to in the areas where it's currently unrestricted.
It'll move them over across the street.
You're keeping your fingers crossed. I understand.
Well, it's 15 minutes to 2 hours.
Right.
Right.
So, yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I know, it still gets me that across the street is still unrestricted totally, so, might as well park across the street, but we'll see if it works.
Yeah, but if both spots are full, and we are unrestricted, then somebody who's gonna go to the Y for an hour and a half is gonna say, oh, cool, I can park here now.
The ordinance include the provision of a bike rack? Only kidding.
Never thought you'd ask that question.
Yeah, right.
Okay, any other questions or anything else for Mr. Renato? No. Ms. Ariano?
I have no report, Mayor.
Any unfinished business? New business? Okay. Let's go down the line here. Comments or matters for discussion from members of council. Council President Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, this may have been unfinished business, I don't know if it's new business. I just want to ask Tina, at the last meeting, when Mike Baines, is that his name, Mike Baines was here, he mentioned that he would give you a schedule that you would forward to us on the streets that they were going to be working on in town. Has he done that?
No.
Has he provided that? Okay. All right, so,
I'm in communication with him on another matter. I will, remind him to send that to me.
okay, thank you. Let's see. Also, I just want to let everyone know that I did attend the training for newly elected and re-elected and experienced council members with Councilman Disco and Councilman Martin, and there was a lot of information that they give you that day. One thing I want to say about that training is I attended it last year as a newly elected official. It's really hard to absorb all that information when I have 1 or 2 meetings under my belt at that point. I think that having attended this year after having a year on council, you absorb more information, you know more of the language, you take it in better. I think that it was a good training, and I think even though we don't have to go every year, we should all go every year. I think it's really, really good training. That is all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilman Martin's not here this evening. Councilman Matthew?
Yeah, I just have a question following up from last meeting. Do we have an idea of when we are hiring a new police officer? I'm just following up on unanimous recommendation of last year's police committee that we are going to hire a new officer.
Well, I personally spoke with Mike, and we have a police committee meeting coming up on February the 5th. So I would imagine that would be discussed then. So hopefully I would think something next meeting you would have.
So that committee meeting says there's going to be a proposal of we're going to hire a police officer on this date?
It could be. I mean, it's kind of the first meeting of the year, a refresher, sort of get up to speed, but we'll see. That's going to be.
It's just, I guess I'm just a little frustrated because I've been asking about this for, I don't know, like a year and a half. And at the last meeting of the year last year, finally we got a decision that we're going to hire a new police officer. And now we're going into February, and it could be. Mayor, do you have a position on when you want to get a police?
No, I leave it in the hands of the police committee to make their recommendation. We'll be having a meeting before our next council meeting, and I'm sure that they will discuss the issue at that time.
All right, well, just put me down as supporting hiring a police officer as soon as possible. It's just been a long time that the Garwood PD has been down to 15 officers from 16. Thank you.
Councilman Neerstadt.
Thank you, Mayor. Just 2 quick comments. Mayor, I know it's only been a month since you appointed the emergency management coordinator, but since we never heard from him last year, the previous emergency management coordinator last year, if you could please encourage him to get up to speed and finish the plan and make a presentation to council, I appreciate it. And I don't know if this has been thought of, but do you think it makes sense to have a liaison to the emergency management committee?
We really have an emergency management, well, there's a Office of Emergency Management. One of the individuals involved is Chief Underhill, who's here all the time.
I ask you just to think about that, all right? It might make sense because, we went an entire year without hearing from the emergency management coordinator, and I don't want that to happen again. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, the council may not have heard, but reports have been done and circulated, and it was quite lengthy, the amount of work that was involved in putting it all together.
But it wasn't finished. And I wanna make
No,
sure
we
it
were
gets-
waiting for the fire department actually, not the director.
I appreciate if you consider my thoughts.
I have.
Thank you very much. Second is, I distributed a newspaper article regarding the assembly bill and the first aid squad. I don't know if everyone has gotten to read that. I do have to see if it ended up passing, just passed the legislature or not. And so I'm not going to ask anybody's thoughts on it tonight, but if it did not pass the last session and the governor did not veto it, and if it does come up again in this upcoming legislature, I would ask my fellow council members to support that bill. It would protect first aid squad members and municipalities from being sued if there is an accident alleged by a first aid squad member. So I'll report back to you at the next meeting.
I don't remember seeing that on the agenda.
No, it's
Came
not.
into
It's
my
not.
house. No,
No, it's not on the agenda. It's in-
No, I don't remember seeing it on the list of bills that
Oh.
were addressed that came into my home after the last session.
All right, it's
I
A.
do read it, yeah.
Yeah, it's A3282.
Yeah.
What was it, A what?
3282.
Didn't jump off the page.
Right. And that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Alrighty, Councilman Petrozelli.
No, Mayor, I don't have anything for discussion.
Pardon me?
I don't have anything for
Okay.
discussion.
Councilwoman Tedesco.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have a couple items. I too, as the council president stated, attended that council training, and now it's my third one, and I'm seeing, a lot of the same speakers, and one would think that would be a little repetitive, and I guess a little bit of it is, but it is, as she said, there's a lot to gain by going with some experience, and it actually was a good coincidence that when we walked in, we started talking to somebody who was seated behind us, and they're actually two recently elected council people in Cranford. So it was a nice opportunity to talk to the neighbors and pass business cards out and keep that line of communication open, and as well as meet folks from other towns that, quite honestly, some I never even heard of, and hear what their problems were, their issues, and it was a very, although formal at times, it did have an informal feel where a lot of council people spoke up about issues in their town or just questions, and it was nice to hear what they had to say, and then what the people that were speaking at the event had to say in response. So it definitely keeps you thinking, and I definitely enjoyed the experience. So also, I attended the Union County Freeholder meeting on the 16th. Not too much to report from that. It was an agenda setting meeting, but I did go. I spoke with some of the freeholders, let them know the rotating schedule is still in effect. So they actually thought I was the liaison to the freeholder board, not the case. I let them know that they would be seeing everyone's face. So that's nice that we're continuing that schedule. And finally, another item I would like to bring up is actually a rather new item for this council. And I just want to state that in looking literally across the street over here, we see the property there owned by Casal is potentially to be sold, developed, and so forth one day. And that parking lot that's next to our firehouse belongs to Casal. However, for many years, we've now been parking municipal vehicles there. Our volunteer firefighters park there when they go to the firehouse very often, and that's been a real luxury for the town. So it just has come to my mind that, it would be something that I feel the borough should try to keep. And in addition to having spots for our current purposes, potentially if we were to acquire that property, then we could also have additional spots that we could potentially rent out to commuters. Maybe then we would have more spots to offer them, get more commuters for the trains and buses, let New Jersey Transit take a real look at us. Maybe then we can increase stops. Maybe then we can make it that much more of a desirable property for a developer to come in and develop. And I know in reading planning board minutes that there's a lot of development or potential development right here in our downtown area, and parking does seem to be a little bit of an issue, to say the least, and I think it's something the council should definitely look into. So I'm not sure, of course, because I don't know the price tag, if I would support purchasing the property, but I really do see myself supporting that, or at least leaning that way, because I would like to see the borough own that property so we can ensure we continue to have the parking spots that we're using for municipal vehicles and volunteers, and also potentially get to generate some real revenue from that property. So I actually did speak to Tina about this a little bit, and she advised me that the next step, if the council wishes, would be to ask her to get it appraised, and then we could see what we're sort of up against or what we're playing with here. I personally would have no clue what to even offer for that property, so we could authorize Tina to get appraisals, get an appraisal done rather of that property and see, and then we can weigh out our options. So I personally would be in support of getting that appraisal, and I just want to hear what everybody else has to say about it. I think it could be a real game changer for the town. We may miss the boat on future parking spots, or we could totally change the game, bring in more commuters and bring in more development here in the town, which will ultimately save the taxpayers money. So.
Mayor,
Yeah, you can comment, go right ahead.
I agree with Tedisco's, Councilman Tedisco's comments there. As the mayor and Mr. Mearstead know, I attend all the planning board meetings, and I've spoken out openly about the parking issue in town, in our downtown area. We have a few projects coming before the planning board that, in my opinion, have lack of parking. And I mean, even though I'm for the redevelopment and I like the projects, parking's gonna be an issue. It currently is an issue, and it's gonna continue to be an issue if these projects are approved. So I think it's a good idea to look into it and see, it can't hurt to see what the cost is, and look into keeping that property, and maybe, you know, at some point, letting it go if we need to a developer, but not letting a developer get it at this point and turning it into something else that it's, you know, not gonna be a parking lot for us. So at this point, I would support that idea.
Any other comments?
For all the reasons you mentioned, Councilman Tedisco, I would support it also.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I would support it as well.
Mr. Matthew?
Yeah.
Any, you don't have to comment if you
You
want.
gotta think about it a little bit.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know if this is the right way to go about it. I feel like we're kind of opening the kimono right here in public. I don't know if an appraisal is the way to go about it. I don't know how public entities go about doing this, but I would like to, I don't know, I'd like to kind of keep my cards closer to the vest. So, I'm not in favor of spending more money on an appraisal. Would I be in favor of buying the property? I don't know. So put me down as a big question mark. And I'm not for it, I'm not against it.
Well, if I may, two things. Tina, do you have any, we discussed it, but for the benefit of the council and the public, what do you think an appraisal would run on?
Well, I'm gonna defer that to Mr. Renaud. Mr. Renaud, just that parking lot in Sal, do you think an appraisal would be more than $1,000 to have that appraised?
Yes.
How much, do you think, roughly?
I'm not sure that I want to say what I think it would be, I guess.
I mean, there's no building on it or anything, so they don't have to
Yeah, but
decide
I mean, they
anything.
still have to do, you've got to get comparable sales, you have to analyze the sales in the area, you got to see what they're, you know, what they're used for. 3,000, 4,000.
Okay.
Will we get a, would we again have to kind of do an RFP or Q on that before we do it? I mean, to me, 3,000 or 4,000, I'd be willing to spend, quite honestly, to look into this, because I think it could be a real game changer, really beneficial for the town. So I think we should take that step, but, you know, just out of curiosity with the process.
Yeah, I wouldn't have to do a formal proposal, what I do is just email some appraisers and ask them to give me a proposal.
Okay,
I don't have to write a formal copy.
okay. So if you
Tina,
could-
correct me if I'm wrong, that's because of the size of the contract? That you don't have to do a formal?
Yeah, we do hire appraisers without, we do hire appraisers with, we have hired appraisers without a formal proposal before. They give us a formal.
17,500, and actually, it's higher than that besides two. You have to, well, for professional services, again, you don't actually have to do anything, but if it were a regular commodity or service, you would have to get quotes at that level because it's, they have to take bids.
And then could I just ask for my own edification, Mr. Renaud, is there a way we could have done this without announcing it to the entire world?
To hire an appraiser,
Or this concept?
maybe.
Yeah, that's when I'm a little disappointed.
I have to think about this.
Yeah.
They're not, it's not contract negotiations. I mean, you can't hire anybody, you can't hire anybody without doing it, without, having the public,
No, I know, but then there's public and there's public, I mean, just,
Jim, I know what you're getting at, but I don't know if the discussion is for executive session.
no, I'm not talking about executive session. All I want to say is, when Donald Trump buys properties, he doesn't let people know it's Donald Trump buying properties. He has an agent do it. Because then pretty soon somebody says, hey, Donald Trump's interested in my property, he's got a lot of money.
no, but if that's what you're thinking, you can't do that. I mean, you can't, and it really doesn't, you have to remember, and some people don't want to do this, but some, understand that the Donald Trump does it, or let's say whether you're a developer of any kind does it for a reason. Municipalities are not required to overpay because they have the power of condemnation. They have the power of eminent domain. So there's no reason for a municipality to pay any more than market value. Now, what market value is, maybe it matters as debatable, but the price doesn't go up because the municipality is interested, because the municipality, if it wants the property, can take it for a public purpose.
And Mayor, I mean, just an aside, if we wanted to get a rough approximation of its value, the tax assessor can certainly just take the appraised value, do the equalization rate, and tell you what it's, roughly worth, but that's a rough number.
Well, it seems to me that at least 4 of us up here would support having Tina send out some emails to see how much it would cost for the appraisal, and then we can discuss that maybe at the next council meeting and decide if we want to move forward. At that point, we'll have Councilman Morton here too to speak to it, so if that's okay.
I'm gonna take Tina's question. Are we directing her to do so?
I believe so.
I believe so,
I think we
too.
are.
Okay.
At that point, Councilman Martin will be here, and it will also give Councilman Matthews the opportunity to mull the situation over. That's the next meeting. Anything else?
Oh, no, I'm done, that's it.
You're done?
Thank you.
Public comment portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the mayor and council? Please step to the microphone and state your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. It would be greatly appreciated. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kathy Gebler, and I live at 347 Willow Avenue. I'm here to ask if we can have some sort of other resolution for snow parking. People that live on our street that don't have driveways are getting tickets every snowstorm. And I understand that the police department is just doing their job, and they're supporting the town who's trying to clean up the snow. However, if we have no place to put our cars, it's defeating the purpose, because at this last snowstorm, our street was neither cleaned completely because the woman that lives a few doors down said to me, I have no place to put my car. If I put it in the lot, I get a ticket. If I put it on the street, I get a ticket. So why should I move it? I put my car in the lot. I put all of my cars down at a place, in the first snowstorm we had, I moved them to a place, a friend of ours has a business at the end of Garwood near Cranford. The next morning I got up, walked to get my car and said, I'm gonna kill myself slipping on this ice to move my car. So the next snowstorm, we kept one car in the lot. I was out on family leave then, so I said to my daughter, I will get up and I'll move the car as soon as the street is plowed. I got up at 12, I got up at 1, I got up at 2, I got up at 5. The street was not completely plowed by 5. However, the lot was plowed. The 5 cars that were in there, the lot was then not completely cleared, and the street was not completely cleared because there was cars left in the lot and cars left on the street. It's recommended to me that I park on my lawn. I do not have a lawn. It's recommended to me that I park in someone else's driveway. I don't know any of my neighbors that have a driveway. Every single day in the town lot, people that do not live in the town and do not pay taxes park there in violation of the laws and never get a ticket. I am not suggesting that they get a ticket because they work in this town. I am suggesting that we have a reasonable solution to snow parking for people who do not have a driveway. That could be park in the lot till 5 or 6. I got a ticket at the last storm. I had my car out of the lot by 4:45 in the morning. It could be alternate side of the street parking. We're not talking about 20 blocks of houses with no driveways. We're talking about the first end of Willow Avenue, the first end of Willow Avenue, part of Center Street. I think that the town workers could coordinate with us, text us what time to move, tell us what time to move, create alternate side of the street parking. I think there are 10 solutions to this, but tough, you bought a house without a driveway is not one of them.
All right, Mayor, since that clearly falls within streets and roads, I'll take that back, we'll have a discussion, and we'll go from there.
I got $240 worth of tickets last year. Yes, most of them were thrown out. That was in one night. Most of them were thrown out. I had to go to court to do that. I
Right.
work full-time. I take care of a very sick husband full-time. I shouldn't have to go to court every time it snows.
The only question I have, I don't know the answer to this, what restrictions are there in parking on the lot at the corner of Center and?
You are not allowed to park there during snow, and you are not allowed to park on the street during snow, and you are not allowed to park there overnight. And I called the police station and said, what time could I move my car? You can't move your car, you cannot park in the lot. And the night of February 3rd, when I got up at 12, 1, 2, and 5, they could have just plowed our street completely, and I would have had our cars moved. It's not, the girl on the corner was gonna come tonight. The girl that lives on the corner gets 2 tickets every single time it snows. She's about 30, she works full-time, she goes to school, and she has a very ill mother. It's not reasonable.
I do understand your situation. Respectfully, Mr. Neerstead, I think that's something that needs to go to laws and license. Work with the chief. It's something that's been bandied about a little bit this past week.
Yeah, it's I get that they're trying to clear lots, but what happened with this last storm? Because she didn't move her cars, then 2 spots on the street where we already don't have enough parking were frozen. Where they plowed around cars that were in the lot, and then it froze, that was then also, that's a safety issue. It's also not cleared effectively.
I understand.
Just an aside, the last storm, we didn't plow at all.
The last storm with 3 inches of snow,
Okay.
which was not February 3rd, that was the next last one, but. Yeah, the storm, I'm talking storms with 3 inches. We've had 3 this year
Understood.
with 3 inches of snow.
Thank you for your.
Thank you. And I, as a taxpayer, would totally be in support of looking at Casal because the parking, people that don't live on Willow or Center Street don't have any idea how bad the parking is. I bought my house 8 years ago, and when I bought my house 8 years ago, the parking was not bad. When I moved into my house 3 years ago, the parking was not bad. Parking is horrendous there now. It's hugely an issue, and I would be hugely in favor of that. I have suggestions even for, if we don't find out what could be done, but I agree that these projects for the town would help. But I came to the town meeting to fight against it because the parking's so bad now. And I agree that I think if we had more parking and apartments here that were here, the train would be more accessible. I think it's a catch-22, but I think that it would benefit the town as well.
If I may, thank you for your support with that, I do appreciate that, and I think it is a major problem in the town overall, and we do, short-term solutions are great, but I think long-term ones are even better as well, if we can have both, so,
I
thank
agree.
you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other, public comment this evening? There being none, we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn the workshop session?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Come back at 8:15.